Morning, John.
Morning, Marco. It's so nice to see you again.
Good to see you. Sunny day here.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, here's a quote. It was a cynical challenge on the edge of the box, or so said Alan Shearer on Match of the Day.
All right. Okay. Yeah. The Euros. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But my question to him would have been, in what sense was it cynical?
Okay.
Reckless, maybe.
Right.
Aggressive, possibly. Effective, not very. But cynical.
Right.
So today's topic, John, is this thing we call cynicism. And it's defined apparently as the belief that people are motivated chiefly by self-interest and therefore their words can't be trusted.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes transferred to God, so that there's a sort of cynicism that, nothing ever good is going to happen and it's all downhill and so on.
Yeah,
my question, John, is to you, are Christians becoming more cynical, and what can we do to guard against it?
Yeah, I mean, I think people are just aware of this, aren't they? There is a sort of something missing in the churches sometimes, a glow of joy, and it does come back. I think cynicism is burrowing very deeply, actually, into our culture, right or wrong. The default position of the media is to kind of be cynical, to knock politicians, to think the worst of them. Anyone could have handled COVID better, all that kind of stuff. And of course, there was always, the smart Alex on Have I Got News for You, being cynical about everything, and that sort of feeds in to the whole thing. But actually, more worrying than that, so-called critical theory is very much in our current culture. I mean, it's tied up with political correctness. And critical theory always thinks it knows what other people's motives are. It wants to label you. If you're saying it's because you think this. So if you don't go with the latest PC fad, it's not because you might actually have some rational reservations. It's because you are this or that phobic, or you are a born bigot, and and that's it. So in Shearer's terms, it plays the man, not the ball. It decries the person while avoiding actually engaging with the argument. And I think sadly that some of that thinking is beginning to seep through into Christians' thinking too.
Yeah, I agree with you. I certainly think that some of these so-called BBC radio programs are very cynical. They're very harsh and aggressive and absolutely ruthless with politicians who are probably doing their best in a muddled sort of way, Yeah, nasty stuff, really. So how's it showing itself in the church? Is that a possibility, what are the symptoms of it in church life, do you think?
Well, I think obviously, first of all, it's grumbling, which has always been around in churches, but a little bit more also of accusation. And when that is in the kind of atmosphere of a church, it leads to lack of wholehearted commitment. People think, people are, they kind of hang back from really getting on board. People cool off about church. And I think it's been very sad to see how Christians have picked fights really with each other over the vaccines, over wearing masks, and no doubt people. Go on.
Singing, that's another one, isn't it? What distance? Yeah, I think that's very true. And some very, very prominent people have taken a very hard line.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I know, and fine. It's nothing wrong with having different points of view. That's fine. We don't have to agree about everything. But people have been so quick to condemn others, who don't see things their way. And I think that's a symptom of this cynicism. That's been so disappointing. It's that same kind of cynical spirit that we see in the secular media rather than the work of the Holy Spirit, let's be honest.
Yes, churches should be places that are cultivating peace and generosity rather than that sort of negativity that's really kind of everywhere now. I think we're back to trying to create churches that are countercultural, isn't it? And that's really hard because the culture's at people 6 days a week, and we've only got them for a day or half a day, haven't we?
Indeed, that's true. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So how do we counter it in church life, do you think?
Well, I think there are some things to say. First of all, I mean, I think often it's not helped by a lack of optimistic, hopeful preaching. There's a lot of preaching. We need challenging, but we also need lifting. And sometimes I feel that there's a lack of kind of preaching that really lifts people and sends people out thinking Christ is great. So that, and also it can be kind of sparked a little bit when you have a leadership which makes decisions which kind of don't make sense, or there's a lot of secrecy, about what leaders are doing, and that's when people begin to suspect and cynicism. So, there's those things. But how can we counter cynicism in the churches? I mean, obviously, I think it's countered by preaching and living out, demonstrating the three great Christian graces, charity, hope, faith, hope, love. That's what needs to be preached and lived out afresh. You might have wanted something to say on that.
Well, is there an opposite word for cynicism? I don't know. We'd maybe have to think about that and do a rerun. But I think it's trying to find out what is the real counter thrust.
Well, some people some people cynically would say the opposite of cynicism is naivety. But on the other hand, I think there is a proper Christian naivety. Love believes all things, and trusts the Lord. And okay, if we get taken for a ride, the Lord knows, but we've done what is right, and I think there's not enough of that. Faith believes the promises of God, hope looks for their fulfillment, and these graces, faith, hope, and love are optimistic about God's sovereignty, about God's grace. So the churches need rescue.
Maybe the other thing we need to do is turn off Radio 4.
Maybe.
Not all the time.
Maybe.
Yeah, okay. Well, we're obviously not experts on it, but there's a guy called Dick Keys who's written a book on it. So maybe everybody who's totally confused after this morning ought to get the book.
Have you got the title there? The title of the book?
It's just called Cynicism by Dick Keys, and I'm not sure the publisher, but you can get it on. Well, I'm not going to say the A word.
Okay, my friend. God bless you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.